A historic day for Hong Kong as Carrie Lam is elected the SAR's first female chief executive. Shortly after the result was announced, incumbent CE Leung Chun-ying extended his congratulations to his former number 2 official and pledged the current administration's full support to ensure a seamless transition. The first round of voting started at 9 a.m. and closed at 11 a.m. A total of 1,186 members of the election committee had cast their votes, and 777 of them chose Lam. Coming in second was former Financial Secretary John Tsang, who garnered 365 valid votes. Retired Judge Wu Kwok King obtained 21, and there were 4 invalid votes. In her acceptance speech at the Convention and Exhibition Centre, the venue of today's polls, Lam vowed to reach out to the pan-democratic camp to heal deep divisions in society. She added that she would not push for new talks on political reforms, but would first deal with more pressing issues, including housing and education. Elmi Lung begins our coverage.
As candidate number 2, Mrs. Lam or Carrie has obtained more than 600 valid votes in the election. In accordance with Section 28 of the Chief Executive Election Ordinance, I hereby declare Mrs. Lam is returned at the election. Congratulations, Mrs. Lam.
With this win, Carrie Lam is set to become Hong Kong's first female chief executive. She made clear uniting the society is top on her agenda.
My priority will be to heal the divide and to ease the frustrations and to unite our society to move forward. To me, unity must be built step by step on solid ground. It is through real work and actual results that I will respond to those who support me and garner the recognition of those yet to support me. Deeds speak louder than words.
She pledged to start by tackling issues such as boosting education expenditure and increasing land supply for more housing. That's in hopes she can attract talent to her team.
Anyone with a sincere wish to serve, the ability and the commitment, regardless of political affiliation, I shall invite to join my team.
Though she stressed to start with community issues, there was no getting away from politics. The former Chief Secretary for Administration was asked about the missing bookseller case, which sparked concerns about the rule of law in Hong Kong and the SAR's autonomy.
Perception is very important. So when Hong Kong people are worried and are concerned and have some misperceptions about things happening, or have some worries about things either happening or not happening, as a chief executive, I have that duty to speak up on behalf of the Hong Kong people. A lot of economic investment and developments in Hong Kong depend on that sort of core values: the rule of law, the independence of judiciary, a clean government, and so on and so on. So as a chief executive, I pledge that I will uphold and safeguard these core values.
As the chief executive-elect, Lam said a visit to the central government's organizations in Hong Kong is inescapable.
You all know we have 3 organizations of the central authorities in Hong Kong, including the Central People's Government Liaison Office. So as part of that protocol, I will call on each and every of these 3 organizations.
She thanked election committee members who in all gave her 777 votes. Lam extended her gratitude to the people and plans to visit different districts tomorrow. But it was her husband of 32 years that got her emotional. We don't get to spend a lot of time together. Some people even say it's abnormal. He has sacrificed a lot for me. I'm sorry you have to continue those sacrifices, she said. The election campaign has also given her a new perspective.
At the start of this campaign, I felt rather confident that years of public service meant that I should know things reasonably well. I see my shortcomings and understand that I must put in more efforts.
She also promised to look into current rules which forbid digital media organizations from covering official events, including this election. Winning today's election is just the first step. Carrie Lam also has to be appointed by the Central People's Government and be officially sworn into office before she can start her 5-year term. Elmi Long, TVB News.
Meanwhile, Carrie Lam's main rival, John Tsang, was gracious in defeat. The former financial secretary urged the people of Hong Kong not to lose hope and remain optimistic. At one point, he even became emotional while thanking his supporters. Caleb Long has that story.
In his concession speech, John Tsang said he accepted the outcome of the election and apologized for letting down his supporters by not being able to meet their expectations. He also thanked his family and his campaign team for their support. Tsang, who enjoyed the highest popularity in multiple opinion polls, says he still believes in Hong Kong and his supporters. He asked the public not to lose heart and truly believes what he and his supporters left behind is genuine hope for a better future in Hong Kong. While Tsang thanked his supporters for their support, he got teary-eyed and had to pause his speech several times. After congratulating his opponent, Tsang pledged to stand by Hong Kong's core values and asked the public to lend their full support to Lam. When asked if he lost the race because of Beijing's intervention, Tsang said it was the electors who made the decision.
I respect the decision of all the election committee members. It's their decision, and it's their decisions alone that made the results today. So, I mean, all they have is themselves and their conscience when they voted. So it's their responsibility, nobody else's.
As for whether he would run in the upcoming electoral by-elections, all Tsang would say is he doesn't want to be Regina 2.0.
Aside from saying he needed a good rest, Tsang concluded by quoting the Bible, saying he had fought the good fight, finished the race, and kept the faith. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Candidate number 3, Woo Kwok Hing, meanwhile, suffered a spectacular defeat in today's election. The retired judge congratulated Carrie Lam on her victory and said what he needs now is to get some sleep. Winner Wong reports.
The underdog of this year's chief executive election, Woo Kwok Hing, he ended up getting just 21 votes, far below the hundreds his opponents got. Wu had been able to enter the race with the help of 180 nominations from Pan-Democratic Election Committee members. This means many who nominated him did not end up voting for him.
As far as I'm concerned, of course, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. But that's their choice. I mean, they follow particular strategy instead of following their own principles. And what can I say?
But Wu added he does not feel betrayed by his nominees, since they had always been clear that they entered him into the race because they wanted more choice and had never promised him a vote. Wu also revealed what he plans on doing now that the election is over.
I've just lost the election. What I need is a lot of sleep. And then I'll consider what's going to happen in the future.
And he talked about his hopes for the city's next leader.
I hope to reunite Hong Kong, and that's the most important thing. Hong Kong is split and divided. I believe that she is able, and therefore please use her ability to reunite Hong Kong and make Hong Kong a nice place for everybody to live in.
The 71-year-old added he hopes his bravery and frankness can become an example for the people of Hong Kong. Winner Wong, TVB News.
Meanwhile, TVB spoke to election committee members across the political divide after the election results. More on that from Adam Shi.
We would like to congratulate Ms. Carrie Lam for her victory.
Today, the election committee result is one that is directly contrary to the majority public opinion of the Hong Kong people.
People should look at it not as a failure of Mr. Tsang or as the pro-democracy camp, but should look at it as a demonstration of the unfairness of the current electoral system.
Still, electors are looking forward to changes the forthcoming administration would bring about.
The most important task for the chief executive, for Carrie, for the next 5 years is to reduce the tension in our society and possibly increase Hong Kong citizens' identification with also being a Chinese citizen or Chinese national.
We expect Carrie's manifesto will be put more resources in the education, and also will abolish the TSA. And for the teachers' job security, then maybe we are expecting more improvement in these areas.
We urge the new government to restart the political reform again in the near future, so that the Hong Kong people can have the genuine choice of their own.
What about their expectations for the CE-elect?
Really down to her to be humble and to really listen to the Hong Kong people and really try to understand why there's so much discontent in society.
We hope that she can find a team of ministers or people who share the same vision with her and have the ability to govern, even though she's very capable, but we understand the importance of teamwork.
She herself has to somehow re-examine her character about never losing faith. She has to learn to compromise with different factions and work with them.
Adam Shu, TVB News.
While election committee members were casting their ballots, there were rowdy protests outside the election venue. It was the second day of demonstrations against what critics have called a small circle election. Rachel Leung has more.
Once the results were in, some cheered, while others became subdued as it became clear Carrie Lam had won a decisive victory. And it was the same outside the Convention and Exhibition Centre. Protesters marched from Southern Playground in Wan Chai to the designated protest zone at Harbour Road this morning to voice their opposition to what they labelled a small circle election. At the end of their march, organized by the Civil Human Rights Fronts, protesters tried to leave the demonstration zone so they could get closer to the voting venue. They were angry the protest zone had been placed so far away from the polling station. As protesters edged closer to the convention center, officers raised yellow banners warning them not to cross the police cordon. Officers also made verbal warnings over loudspeakers. During the unrest, officers also warned that the protest was unauthorized and appealed to some of them not to incite other demonstrators. Among those who marched were localist lawmakers Raymond Chan, Eddie Chiu, Lau Siu Lai, Nathan Law, as well as Leung Kwok Kung, who went to cast their ballots.
All of us, the public voters, including legislators, we will cast a vote, a blank vote, in order to represent those Hong Kong people who have sacrificed a lot in the umbrella movement.
Meanwhile, some pro-Beijing groups also gathered by Wan Chai Tower to voice their support for the one country, two systems principle. Some of them noted that a fair election process was the key to bringing the city a leader that could unite the community. Rachel Leung, TVB News.